Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chase for the Championship, the online basketball program showcasing the best of ACC basketball. I am Chris Clark, coming to you live every Thursday at 7 p.m. from now till that big game at the end of the tournament. But it's not just me. No, we've got sports reporters from Next Star stations up and down the Eastern Seaboard, getting you up to speed on the latest from your favorite teams, and I mean every single one of them. We're going to start with the defending champion Virginia Cavaliers, making a trip to Syracuse to open up the season last night. WSYR's Darius Joshua is courtside at the Carrier Dome, where the Orange came up just a little short to the Cavs.
To say the loss to Virginia was a bit of an offensive struggle is an understatement. The reigning national champs held the Orange to its lowest point total ever inside the Dome. After the game, the SU players gave their credit to the UVA defense, but they also said they know they didn't do enough.
Obviously, a really good defensive team, and a couple shots we missed that we usually make, but that's how the game's going to go sometimes. And especially playing a defense like that, you're going to think about it a little more. So I think that you got to give a lot of credit to them at the end of the day.
Well, it's the best defense in the country. I mean, they just want to come off a national championship because of it, and yeah, they're just really good at what they do. We got some open ones that we make in practice that we miss, and we had to take some tough ones, so it's a combination of both.
We have to do a better job of screening and moving without the ball. We didn't do that very well tonight, but that's something that, again, they're one of the few teams that can really do that to you defensively.
Things return to normal for the month of November as the Orange open non-conference play against Colgate next Wednesday. The defending Patriot League champs opened its season with a win over NJIT 80-75. Colgate will actually travel to Clemson before coming to the Dome for a 7 o'clock tip on November 13th. Covering Syracuse, I'm Darius Joshua.
All right, thanks a lot. Next up for the Qs, they got some time off, but their next game is with Colgate. Now, you laugh if you want, but Colgate reached the NCAA tournament last year, and the Raiders even gave second-seeded Tennessee a nice test in that first round. With their top 5 scores back, this is a group that can dominate the Patriot League and pull off some upsets along the way. Trap game if the Qs are overlooking them. Up next for the Virginia Cavaliers, the James Madison Dukes. James Madison returns 4 starters from last season, expecting better things. Teams picked to finish 4th in the preseason Colonial Athletic Association poll. That game is set for Sunday night at 6. And stay with us. We're going to hear more reaction from that game coming up. Natalie Calabet from our station up in Virginia is going to join us live from Richmond and talk about the Cavs. That big opening win in just a few minutes. All right, time for some Game of the Week talk. And for that, we're going to take it back 48 hours to when Duke took on Kansas up in New York City. To get a better take on the game, let's bring in WNCT's Nolan Knight, who follows Duke. Nolan, I got to ask you, man, could the Blue Devils have opened the season with a bigger W?
You really couldn't, Chris. What a game it was as well. That Champions Classic is always so much fun to watch, and it's almost like a preseason game, because if you lose it, your season, is just the beginning of it. But to get a victory at the beginning of the season against a top 4 opponent, especially one that, like Kansas, that is supposed to be, one of those blue blood teams that will likely be a 1 seed come at the end of the season, that's exactly what you were looking for, especially when one of your, practice games at the beginning of the season, I'm not sure what they call them now, you struggle, and then now you got your confidence back. You get to start off your season 1-0, and all of a sudden these new guys, you start to learn some names and faces, and that's kind of what you have to do with Duke every year. You got those brand new freshmen coming in.
Speaking of freshmen, which one of those big freshmen stood out to you the most? Which one, if you had to pick? I mean, I know a lot of them put up some decent numbers, did some decent things, but which one on your scorecard there showed you the most last Tuesday?
Well, Cassius Stanley put up 13, but it was such an evenly distributed game. Obviously, Trey Jones is going to have a big impact with getting the ball to all the different guys out there. And that's the thing about this year's Duke team, is there's not that, one star power guy like they had last year in Williamson and R.J. Barrett. It's a bunch of guys that are going to come together, and I think you're going to see box scores that, one night it's this guy, maybe it's Stanley, Matthew Hurt, Wendell Moore. Any of these freshmen that obviously have a lot of talent could go off for you at any time. And that's what's going to be different about this Duke team. I feel like over the past, few years or so, there's always, that 1 or 2 star power guys, where this year I think we might see a more team-oriented Blue Devils team that, we really haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, I know Coach K was talking about kind of throwing it back to those early Blue Devil teams that was more of a team and less star power, like you were talking about. But speaking about leaders now, senior leader Trey Jones, we say senior and all this experience, but he's only a sophomore, man. I mean, how do you see him doing leading the Blue Devils this year? Because they're off to a great start, like you said.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Tre Jones, he's a guy that probably, wouldn't have been a lottery pick if he would have joined the draft, but definitely probably would have got picked up by somebody. Elects to come back, which I think was a surprise to a lot of people. And now he's put this Blue Devils team in a position where they can have a lot of success very early. Coach K, you joked about it as well, but he's almost an upperclassman, just a sophomore. And he's going to be out on the court. He's going to have the ball the majority of the time. And the way he plays the game, he's going to be able to, he has all these weapons that he can distribute the ball to. And he can put up some points too. He finished with 15 the other night as well. So having that leadership role, a guy that is younger, that can still, relate to the younger guys. Obviously, Jack White, he's been there forever. He's a little older. He's a senior. He'll come off the bench pretty often. But be a young leader like Tre Jones is and be one of the better players on the team. I think that's exactly what you're looking for if you're Coach K, to have a guy that, can relate to the younger guys and can score points, be a threat, and distribute the ball.
All right, thanks a lot, Nolan. I appreciate it. We'll be checking back in with you throughout the course of the year. And obviously the Blue Devils, they're going to be a team that's going to be around for a very long time. Their first game at Cameron Indoor Stadium this Friday when Colorado State comes to town, and then they'll be back on Coach K Court Tuesday night to host Central Arkansas. Both those games tip off at 7, and we're efforting. We have it. We have a live show. I'm just told right now we got sound with Jack White. Take it away.
I think we just need a gang rebound. Going off a game where Kansas had, 3 really big guys. It was a big emphasis for us that, everyone has to crush a glass, even if it's a matter of like Vernon and Javin or Vernon and Matt, whoever it may be, just taking them off the glass, someone else can come in and get the rebound. So I think with him, just making contact first and not giving him freedom of movement will be a big thing. And I think if we can just do our work on him early, that'll be a big, a big plus for us in, taking his impact away on the glass.
Something about that Australian accent. I think I could listen to him talk all day long there. Moving on to UNC freshmen already in the record books after just one game in Chapel Hill. Alyssa Ray is in the Dean Dome where Cole Anthony scored the most points by a UNC freshman in his regular season game in the Tar Heels' opening win over Notre Dame.
Much of the hype surrounding this UNC team ahead of their season opener was around freshman Cole Anthony. The highly touted recruit scored 34 points, breaking the record for UNC player with the most points in a debut.
That I've really appreciated since the first time I watched him play as a high school freshman. I think he's one of the toughest between those lines, during conditioning, during the simplest little thing. That is one tough little nut.
Really just want to give all the credit to my team. I mean, they found me, they got me open looks, I hustled, and I just, something clicked.
UNC coach Roy Williams emphasizes rebounds, and it showed in this game. The Tar Heels out-rebounded the Irish 41-21.
We just knew we had to go out there and play Carolina basketball, just get the boards first, the most important thing, and then go get out the fast break. And it just has been an emphasis in practice all these days leading up to this game.
Well, it's a good win. Coach had a lot to say after the game. He almost felt like we lost, but then again, he ended it with, well, it's a dub. So it's hopefully you just bring momentum into Friday. Up
next for the 9th-ranked Tar Heels, a trip to UNC Wilmington on Friday. In Chapel Hill, Alyssa Ray, CBS 17.
All right, thank you, Alyssa. Like she just said, Tar Heels not going very far, just over to Wilmington, taking on the Seahawks. UNC Wilmington beat up on Johnson and Wales 103-83 Tuesday night. In 2 seasons under head coach C.B. McGrath, the Seahawks are 21-44. For Notre Dame, well, they play host to Robert Morris, the Colonials, on Saturday. Then next Tuesday, they face off against the Howard University Bison in South Bend. But before they focus on those games, let's get some reaction from the Fighting Irish with Chris Widlick.
Well, Notre Dame is hoping 2 years of injuries and bad luck will end with a return to the NCAA tournament. And after Mike Bray's first losing season in 5 years, there is reason for optimism. The Irish picked to finish in the middle of the ACC are senior heavy, something Bray loves. And sharpshooter Rex Pfluger is back after missing nearly all of last year with an injury. Well, opening up at 9th-ranked North Carolina, probably not what Bray wanted, but the Irish gave the Tar Heels a game. Sophomore Prentice Hub led the way with 22. And the Irish actually led by 1 at the half. But Carolina freshman Cole Anthony was on fire, leading the way with 34. And Carolina wins the season opener 76-65. TJ Gibbs added 19 for Notre Dame, but the team shot just 35% from the field. You're not going to win many games doing that. A lesson learned on Tobacco Road. Notre Dame heads back to South Bend for Saturday's home opener against Robert Morris. Covering Notre Dame, I'm Chris Woodlick.
All right, there. Thanks a lot there, Chris. And Florida State finished 4th in the conference last year and made the ACC tournament final, but they're off to an 0-1 start this season after a trip to Pittsburgh. The Panthers, they beat the Seminoles up 63-61 in a tight one. Courtney Mims taking a look.
Florida State is not shying away from competition to start off their 2019-20 season, and they took on the ACC opponent Pittsburgh last night, and it was a competition down to the very end, but the Noles ended up falling to the Panthers 63-61. Well, lots and lots of fouls in this one, 27 personal for the Seminoles and 3 players fouling out. However, there was some standout performances to make note of. Florida State's Trent Forrest leading the team with 19 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists. And Malik Osborne on the defensive side with 9 rebounds and 4 blocks. But like I said in the beginning, it was free throws that made the difference in this one. FSU scored just 13 points from the line, while Pittsburgh made 22 out of a whopping 31 attempts. But it doesn't get easier this week for Florida State. The Seminoles head to Gator Country on Sunday to take on in-state rivals, the Florida Gators. Well, the Gators are still ranked at number 6 right now, and they are 1-0 on the season, while the Seminoles are unranked and are 0-1 on the season. If the Seminoles do win the game against Florida on Sunday, it will be their 6th straight win over the Gators. Covering Florida State, I'm Courtney Mims.
Thank you, Courtney. Good stuff. FSU still looking for that combo to replace 6 of its top 8 scores off last year's team and made a 2nd consecutive Sweet 16 for just the 2nd time in program history. The Panthers are going to be busy as well. They take on Nicholls State Saturday at noon, then turn around and play Robert Morris on Tuesday. Meanwhile, Louisville finished last season just 2 games over 500 in conference, but the Cardinals are ranked 5th in the country to start this season. WHT's Randall Parmley has the Cardinals' season opening win at Miami.
Well, a pretty good season opener Tuesday night for the Cardinals down in Miami, and a good conference opener as well. We usually don't see those conference games right out of the gate, but that's what we had as Louisville beat Miami 87-74. Louisville plays 5 players in double figures. Talk about balanced scoring. They were led by preseason ACC Player of the Year, Jordan Wara. He had 23 points and 12 rebounds. Ryan McMahon added 16, and that includes knocking down 4 triples. As a team, the Cardinals blistered the Nets, shooting 54%. Up next, it's a couple of home games at the Center. The Cards will play Youngstown State Sunday afternoon, and then they'll host Indiana State on Wednesday. So barring a huge upset next week, it looks like the 5th-ranked team in the nation will start the season 3-0. Covering the Louisville Cardinals, I'm Randall Park.
Thank you, Randall. Up next for the 5th-ranked Cardinals, 2 home games. Like you said, Louisville takes on Youngstown State on Saturday afternoon, and then Indiana State heads to the KFC Yum Center. Next win, KFC Yum. Always love saying that one. The Hurricanes are going to look to bounce back from that loss with 2 games against other schools from the Sunshine State. They're going to host Florida Atlantic on Friday night and then head to UCF up in Orlando on Tuesday. All right, let's get back to another game of the week as the defending national champion Virginia Cavaliers took a trip up to Syracuse to take on the Orange at the Carrier Dome. WRIC's Natalie Calabat follows the Cavaliers for us. And Natalie, we can't talk about this game without talking about that final score, 48-34. Is Virginia's defense just that good?
Chris, it was crazy watching that game. Such a low-scoring game, and man, it looked like a season opener. It just took a while to get going on both sides. You know, the offense, it was a very slow offensive game, but the defense really stepped up on both sides. Of course, you're facing Virginia's pack line defense, which is not easy, but hey, the Carrier Dome is not an easy place to play. So Tony Bennett talks about this season being about rebuilding, and it's all about the defense and the key players coming up and stepping up big in this Syracuse win.
It's just such a different group. You know, perhaps if we had our whole team back, might have said, okay, here you are, but that team's gone. This is our team. This is a different time, and we understand that. Because of our ability to defend and rebound, that's what won us the game. And I think our size and length was effective at times. And I know neither team was high level in certain ways, but I don't apologize for our guys, how hard they worked to prepare, how hard they defended, and obviously there were some nerves and all that.
Well, the Virginia Cavaliers shake off those nerves now. They're 11-0 in ACC openers with head coach Tony Bennett. So far, so good, Chris.
Question, exactly who stood out for you on this squad? I know he's talking about a bunch of new faces and everything. Which one of those guys do you think is going to break through and be that leader, that go-to for Tony Bennett this year?
Absolutely. So Mamadi Diakite led with 12 points, and you can't talk about that game without highlighting Kihei Clark. He was 5'9". He played a key role, playing a career-high 40 minutes, finishing with 10 points and a career-high 11 rebounds. So I definitely think Clark is going to be a key player to look out for. And obviously, he played a good amount of minutes last year in that national championship team. So he has that experience from last season that'll carry over to this year.
Never going to bet against a guy named Clark there, Natalie. Not going to do it here. Question, do you think they can repeat as national champions? Do you think they can get back there and do back-to-back? Do they have the horses for it?
You know, it's hard. They say defense wins championships, and Virginia has that pack line defense. So it's all about the offense of Virginia finding their voice this season. And if they can do that, I think they could do it. Sky's the limit, Chris.
That's great stuff, Natalie. Thank you for joining us. Do appreciate it. We'll be checking in with you much later on in the season, covering this Virginia team as they head down the stretch. All right, switching our focus to the Virginia Tech Hokies. Not much expected out of Virginia Tech from these so-called experts around the league. Team went through some major changes in the offseason, so really nobody has a good feel for what they might do. Early on, all the Hokies did was come out swinging and take no prisoners, making believers out of all those doubters. For more on this basketball awakening, we turn things over to WFXR's Jermaine Farrell in Hokies country. Jermaine.
After the Virginia Tech Hokies men's basketball team had a historic 2018-19 season that saw them make it to the Sweet 16, we have now shifted to the 2019-2020 season with new players and a new head coach. With all the newness, the Hokies were picked to finish 14th out of the 15-team ACC. Now, Tuesday, the Mike Young era got underway right out of the gate with an ACC game. Coach Young going to a familiar place in the Palmetto State of South Carolina. Since last season, he was the Wofford coach to play the Clemson Tigers. Tech got a sensational performance from Landers Nolley II and made all the big plays down the stretch to walk away with a somewhat surprising 67-60 victory over the Tigers in the season opener Tuesday night. Nolley scored 30 points in a game to lead the Hokies, and Tech gave Mike Young his first victory at Tech and his 300th of his career. Now, after the game, Coach Mike Young said, quote, "We're just over there trying not to mess things up and stay out of the way. These are good players, significant the victory, but don't give me a lot of credit, and I've got good players, and we're going to continue to get better." For Nolley, the evening marked an end of a long, agonizing wait. The Hokies' top recruit 2 years ago. He sat out last season because of an NCAA-related issue. He practiced with the team but was restricted to a cheerleader role on game day as the Hokies went on to, again, a school record in victories with 26 and advanced all the way to the Sweet 16. So next up for Virginia Tech, the Hokies have their home opener at Castle Coliseum this Friday night. 7 o'clock, they play Coppin State. Then next Wednesday, they host USC Upstate. Covering the Virginia Tech Hokies, I'm Jermaine Farrell.
All right, thanks a lot there, Jermaine. Virginia Tech's going to keep the momentum going with, like you said, those two games in the next week, Coppin State, of course, and then hosting South Carolina Upstate on Wednesday. Meanwhile, Clemson is already trying to turn things around after that loss in the first half against Presbyterian. They're actually playing them right now. We'll have an update for you a little bit later on in the show. Next up for Clemson after that one, a home game against Colgate Sunday. And, let's get some reaction from the Tigers to their opening loss to Virginia Tech with WSPA's Pete Yannity. Pete?
Clemson's opening game, an ACC contest at that, did not go well for the Tigers, especially in the second half when they shot just 23% from the field in a 67-60 loss against Virginia Tech, playing its first game with new head coach Mike Young. One of the few bright spots for Clemson, the fact that Amir Sims, their junior forward, had 12 points and 15 boards. But throughout the contest, you could see the offensive flaws, and that certainly was noted by the head coach Brad Brownell afterward.
We just looked a little nervous and a little unsure of ourselves, and we didn't have a guy that we could just kind of go to settle us down and know that that guy's going to get us a great shot. And that was, probably the difference.
They definitely picked up their pressure a little bit, kind of made it hard for us to make catches and kind of get into the flow of our offense. They didn't really do much to kind of alter things, but we kind of, like being young, we kind of got a little spooked and panicked a little bit at times down the stretch when it mattered most.
The Tigers had games against Presbyterian and Colgate. The team picked to repeat as Patriot League champs at home later in the week. No doubt trying to get that offensive flow going. By the way, one player who will not be contributing this season for the Tigers, Fordham transfer Nick Honor. He'd put in for an NCAA waiver, but was denied that on Wednesday, so he'll have to sit out this season. He'll have 3 years of eligibility remaining next year. A year ago, Honor scored 15.3 points a game to lead the Rams of the Atlantic 10. Covering Clemson, I'm Pete Ganity.
All right there. Thanks a lot, Pete, for hooking us up. Clemson on top of Presbyterian, by the way, 16-5, still early in that one. Wolfpack opened up against Georgia Tech. The Yellow Jackets here. Tech on suspension from postseason play. Playing for pride. They're on probation for the next 4 years, too. They found out there are a bunch of proud guys down there in Atlanta taking on and taking down an NC State team that was less than full strength. Todd Gibson, WNCN, took the game in and has more from PNC Arena. Todd?
For the first time in more than 50 years, NC State opens its season in conference, facing Georgia Tech, a team that all but knocked the Pack from the tournament last year. NC State playing shorthanded in this one, missing 2 of its best players. The Pack opened up a 15-point first-half lead. Georgia Tech wore the Pack down in the second half, forcing overtime and winning 82-81.
If we could have 1 or 2 possessions back, it would probably be a different outcome. But unfortunately, you don't get those back when you're playing a conference game. We talked about in the locker room, making plays, and 1 or 2 plays a different way, you have a different outcome. And unfortunately, give Georgia Tech credit, they finished the game and we didn't. So we'll move on. We'll get better from this. Hopefully, we get some other guys back that'll get healthy, and we'll be a better basketball team.
Yeah, they chipped it down. I think we got to do a better job of, when we're up big, not getting too complacent, and just keep moving forward. If we're up 15, where we were, we got to treat it like it was 0-0, and just keep moving forward. Second half, we were saying, come out and let's win the half. Obviously they kept chipping it down, and that's it's good that it's the first game because we got however many more games to learn from it.
I stole the ball. I tried to get it past half court. I seen 3 of them coming to trap me. I tried to move the ball, but I should have just kept the ball, foul me. But it was their ball to jump ball, so I should have called a timeout. So I should have did something else than what I did.
Yeah, we were short-handed tonight, but no excuse. We're a very in-shape team. By the way we play, we like to get up and down the court. We like to press. And like I said, just got to pay attention to the game plan, and we'll do better next game.
It took Georgia Tech more than 40 minutes to grab its first lead, and now it's back to the drawing board for NC State as they look to even their record Sunday against Detroit Mercy. Following the Wolfpack at PNC Arena, I'm Todd Gibson.
Thank you, Gibby. Like you said, NC State staying at home in Raleigh for 2 weeks. 2 games this week, rather. Detroit Mercy coming to town Sunday afternoon, then the Wolfpack going to square off with Florida International on Wednesday night. And it's just 1 game for Georgia Tech in the next week. They're going to play their first one at home in Atlanta when Elon comes to town on Monday night. Speaking of Georgia Tech, let's check in with Brendan Robertson for the Yellow Jackets' reaction to that opening night win.
The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets opened the season with a bang, winning on the road against NC State in overtime, 82-81. Senior James Banks knocking down a pair of free throws with 2.1 seconds left in OT. The Yellow Jackets trailed by double digits for much of the game, only took their first lead of the night in overtime. Not only a win in the season opener, but a conference win as well in the new 20-game ACC schedule. And it wasn't the first time Banks stunned the Wolfpack crowd late in a game back in March. He completed a 3-point play, slammed home the game-winning dunk with 1.4 seconds left, and made the free throw to give Tech a 63-61 win. Now Georgia Tech is on that postseason ban, but it didn't do anything to dampen the enthusiasm of head coach Josh Pastner from what he saw from his guys on opening night.
Both teams played so hard, and it was the first game of the year. The intensity by both NC State and Georgia Tech, it was just an incredible basketball game. Those young men on both teams deserve a lot of credit. And it was a high-level basketball game, and it was like a boxing match, just 12 rounds. And like I said, both teams, not just Georgia Tech, but NC State, they played so hard as well, too. Two hard-playing teams, and it was sort of one of those things where just kind of whoever had the ball last was probably going to win the game.
Up next, they'll host Elon on the Flats on Monday night. With the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, I'm Brendan Robertson. Back to you.
All right, thanks a lot there, Brendan. Boston College and Wake Forest each finished in the bottom half of the ACC standings last season. Kevin Conley takes a look as they squared off to open the season in Beantown.
The 2019-2020 season is critical in the future of Wake Forest basketball coach Danny Manning. So far, through his first 5 seasons, Wake Forest has only made 1 trip to the NCAA tournament, and that was in a play-in game 3 years ago. Manning has promised that this season would be different and that the Deacons would take a step in the right direction after suffering through back-to-back 11-win seasons. Things didn't look any different in Wake's first game of the season against Boston College earlier this week. Wake Forest went through a little scoring drought as BC built a double-digit lead. Brandon Childress led Wake Forest with 23 points. Isaiah Musius added 19, but there was little offensive production after that. 77-70 the final score, and not quite the performance to instill confidence in an uneasy fan base. Up next for Wake Forest is Columbia on Sunday at the Joel Coliseum, followed by UNC Asheville on the 13th. Covering Wake Forest, I'm Kevin Conley.
Thank you much, Kevin. Boston College hitting the road for their next game at South Florida on Sunday. Then they'll be back in Boston on Wednesday night to take on High Point. Wake Forest, meanwhile, is going to return to Winston-Salem for their home opener against Columbia on Sunday afternoon, and then they'll host in-state rival UNC Asheville on Wednesday. You know, with all the talk about basketball, sometimes we actually forget these guys are, they're in college to learn a skill, become a professional member of society. Well, Wake Forest guard Shawnee Brown might have already found his career off the court and nailed it down. He took the mic to don the role of sports reporter to introduce everyone to some of his Demon Deacon teammates. So without further ado, let's meet the Deeks.
What's up, D fans? Shawnee Brown, number 23 here, guard at Wake Forest. As you guys can see, it's media day. Let's go meet the Deeks. I got Michael Wynn. Michael Wynn here, number 20. When was the last time you cried and why?
I would say the last time I cried was when the whole team cried in Dr. Carr. We all really opened up to each other, and even though Shandy didn't cry, which I thought he might have cried. I don't know if he cried or not. But I did cry, and I was crying because I was telling a very personal story.
Well, thank you, Michael Wynn. I really appreciate that. Checking out here from Michael Wynn.
Yes, sir.
Could you explain to us what was one embarrassing moment?
All right, I guess what you can say is that I asked a girl out through text, but then she
She said no?
Yeah, she said no, and then I came to school the next day. Apparently she told everyone, and it was brutal.
She'll regret that now when she see you on TV this year.
Sir. Yes, sir.
I want to get Sharon right for this one. Do you remember the age of your first kiss?
Might have been like, I don't know, it was little. Really.
You don't?
I don't know.
You don't know the age? Do you know a grade? No grade. Well, thank you, Sharon Wright. I'm looking for a great season from you. A lot of dunks and ones. Hello, Deke fans. We have the Stan Cotton here, the famous radio guy. I would like to ask you a question.
Go ahead, shoot.
And be completely honest with this. Who is your favorite player on the Wake Forest men's basketball team?
There's this guy by the name of Shawnee Brown. He's unbelievable. He's good looking. He can play. He's smart. Everybody loves him, and that's my guy.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate that.
Okay.
I will give this news back to him.
Okay.
What's your favorite memory you had since being here?
One of my favorite memories is my freshman year. Hearing our names being called to go into the NCAA tournament, it's kind of that feeling I won again.
Check it out here, Brandon Childress, number 0, point guard. So you guys had a chance to meet the Deeks. Make sure you guys come out this year and support us. This is Shawnee Brown reporting from Fox 8.
You know, it's crazy. We haven't even played a full week of basketball yet here in the conference, and already we got teams rising, stocks dropping, and we got to make some sense of it all. So we're going to bring in an expert. That's right. I'm talking about Jason Logan from Covers.com. Jason, thanks for hanging out with us and spending some time talking basketball, man.
Oh, absolutely. This is the great time of year. Everything gets started. A lot of expectations out there. Let's talk hoops.
Now, with the ACC not wasting any time, opening up with conference games, there's bound to have some conference teams take on and take each other out. We've had some big losses. Which teams do you see, despite these L's that they're taking the conference championship?
Yeah, well, at the top of the odds board here, we see the kind of the usual suspects. And Duke and Virginia, co-favorites to win the ACC right out of the get-go at plus 225 odds. Now, the Blue Devils, they had a big turnover in talent. Obviously, guys like Zion and R.J. Barrett are gone, but this is Duke, and they just reload every year. Coach K has another bumper crop of freshmen coming in here. Guys like Vernon Carey, Cassius Stanley, Matt Hurt. They all looked very good in that win over Kansas. Virginia's case, they did lose a lot of guys from that championship team, but they don't really recruit like the Blue Devils. But Tony Bennett's going to coach these guys up, have them ready to go when the calendar turns to 2020 here. So beyond them, we see teams like UNC and Louisville around 5-1 odds to win the ACC championship.
So we're expecting the usual suspects. Now I'm going to ask you to put that long-range crystal ball into effect here and take us down into March. These ACC teams, obviously, you're going to have a slew of them probably making it into the tournament. Which ones are going to be there and start peaking at just the right time and could possibly take this entire thing in March Madness?
Yeah, well, if we tie it into the conference odds, Duke is a plus 900 kind of up there favorite to win the national title. They're behind Michigan State and Kentucky in terms of winning it all in the big dance. Virginia plus 1,000, but one team that's really popped up on the radar and a lot of people are hot about are the Louisville Cardinals, and we've seen them as low as plus 1,200 to win the national title. Louisville brings back Jordan Nwora. He's the top returning scorer from last year, and then they have a great complementing cast around him. So a lot of hype heading into year 2 under Coach Chris Mack here for the Cardinals.
Now, I know it's a team game, and everybody wants to talk team, and it's all about the team. I get it, but, man, we've got some great individual talent here as well. Which one of these guys do you think could separate themselves on the national scene, possibly take home that Naismith Trophy as a National Player of the Year from the ACC?
Yeah, so perhaps we've already seen this here. So UNC freshman Cole Anthony, he was the top ACC player in these Naismith prop odds at plus 1,000, and he had a great showing. He was about the 6th overall favorite on that board. He comes out, he drops 34 points in his NCAA debut. That's a school record for a freshman debut, which speaks a ton because you see all the talent that comes through Chapel Hill. And then you have another guy like Trey Jones, the guard for Duke. He's also up there, plus 1,100 odds to win the Naismith Award.
All right, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Do it again next Thursday with us?
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot. Jason Logan from Covers.com, everybody. Meanwhile, after a 500 season last year, the Duke Blue Devil women's basketball team started this year off with a bang, taking down High Point 93-57 on Tuesday night. They won their 60th straight contest against non-conference teams from the state of North Carolina, while also collecting their 53rd consecutive home win as well versus non-conference teams from the state. The Blue Devils had 5 players in double figures, shot just over 45% from the field. I mean, they were just rolling. They hit the road for a date with 6th-ranked Texas A&M on Sunday. Tough SEC team with one of the top scorers in the nation in Kennedy Carter. True test for these Blue Devils.
We're just going to get better as we go through the season, and I mean, we don't see any team as bigger, smaller. We don't get super hyped for games. It's always exciting to play in a game, but we see them as dominoes, so we're just going to knock one off at a time.
They've got a nice team. 5 starters back, a great scorer. It's like anything else. You got to guard all positions and guard on Kennedy Carter, pretty aggressive. Number 3 is pretty good player. So it's a total team defensive effort, and rebounds will determine the game without question.
Now, for some, the trip to Texas is going to be a new experience. A trip to the unknown. But for Uchenna Woke, Kyra Lambert, and Jade Williams, it's a homecoming. Each one hailing from the Lone Star State, so heading out west is just, heading back home. And oh yeah, they're obviously eager to face down one of the best teams in the SEC, but they're also looking forward to playing in front of family and friends for the first time in a long time.
And I love Texas, so I'm very excited to play. It's my family and my people in the stands.
I'm just super excited to be able to play live in front of the people that I grew up with and that have supported me for so long.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's very exciting. Also, we're playing, people that on the A&M team I know. I played with Kayla in high school, so that's exciting. And my high school coach is going to be there, and her mom's going to be there. It's so exciting. My parents are going to be there. It's going to be great.
Sounds like the stand's going to be full. Let's take a look at a couple of the biggest women's games around the conference over the next week. Those Duke Blue Devils travel to College Station, like we said, to take on Texas A&M Sunday afternoon. Aggies 6 in the nation. That'll be a tough one. Tips off at 4. And then Monday, it's a battle of traditional women's powers in South Bend when Tennessee comes to town to take on Notre Dame. That one might not be a classic as battle as in years past, though. Tennessee starts the season unranked, and the Fighting Irish are 16th. That one starts at 7. And that's it. That's what we got, man. That's it for us on this week's Chase for the Championship. But don't forget to join us next Thursday and every other Thursday after that for another exciting episode. We're going to be taking a look back at some of this coming week's biggest games and also looking ahead to some of the top teams in the conference as they head to the biggest cities in the country for some early season tournament. Duke opens up in the Empire Classic on Friday, November 15th against Georgia State, NC State, and also heads to New York for the Barclays Center Classic in Brooklyn, and Virginia heads to the other coast for the Hall of Fame Classic in Los Angeles. And we'll, of course, have plenty of coverage on all your other favorite ACC teams, too. You can catch me on Facebook at Chris Clark Sports. Drop me a like and a follow, and or you can catch me on Twitter, @ChrisClark_. Until next week, we'll see you guys. Thanks for joining us here on Chase for the Championship. Remember, every episode here, Thursday night at 7 until the big game at the end of the year. You can watch some serious basketball. See you next Thursday, everybody.